Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to take one piece of information and convert it to the other two pieces of information, because our tables, our graphs, and our equations all relate. This one, they give you the table, so we'll find the graph in the equation. This one, they give you the graph, so we'll find the table in the equation. And this one, they give you the equation, and we'll find the table in the graph. So we'll just start right at the top and work our way down. And we're going to start with graphing, because it's probably the easiest place to start. Well, I mean, it kind of depends on what your preference is. Some people find the equations easier, and some people find the graphs easier. We'll just go left to right for this one. So the first thing that you want to do is find your rise and your run, your slope. Now remember, y's rise, right? So this is your y-axis, so they rise up. Your x's run, okay? So rise, run. So I'm just going to write myself a little note here. My rise are my y's. My y's rise. My x is my run. So you have to ask yourself, how far do we rise from -5 to 0? Well, we go up 5, so plus 5. 0 to 5 is plus 5. 5 to 10 is plus 5. And 10 to 20 is a mistake. It's actually supposed to be 15 here. That's the mistake I told you about in class. So 10 to 15 is plus 5. So your rise is 15. 5, sorry. Jeez. Then we have our run. So -2 to -1, it runs up 1. -1 to 0 runs up 1. 0 to 1 is 1, and 1 to 2 is 1. So our run is 1, so 5 over 1. This is our slope, 5 over 1. That will become helpful. Then we look for our y-intercept. The y-intercept is when the x is 0. So it's where it's touching the y-axis. So if it's touching the y-axis, no matter where it is on the y-axis, it's at 0. We haven't run right and we haven't run left. We stay right at 0, which right here is 0 and 5. Okay? So there's two ways that you could graph this. You could take your y-intercept and go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you could take your slope and you could go up 5 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. Now it's a positive slope. Because it's a positive slope, if I go negative and negative, it's still a positive because two negatives make a positive. So I can start here and go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back 1 if I wanted to. So you can do that, or you can just take these points. These are all x's and y's. So you could go -2, -5. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -1 and 0, we already have from our slope. 0 and 5, we already have because it's our y-intercept. 1 and 10 is right here. And then 2 and 15, we can't graph because it doesn't go far enough. But then all you do is you take your points. You want at least 3 to make it as accurate as possible. Connect your points. And there is the line that goes with this table of values. Now we already just did all of the work for the equation. Remember, our equation is always y equals mx plus b. So y equals our slope, which is 5 over 1, which is just 5, x plus our b, which is 5. So our equation, y equals mx plus b, for this one, is y equals 5x plus 5. And you can see that right in our graph. There's your y-intercept, and here's your slope, 5 over 1, up 5 over 1. See how they all relate? If you have one piece of information, you can find the other two. Now this one, they gave us our graph. we have to fill in our x's and our y's. Now you can't ever be too sure about where things line up on a graph. It's really hard to see, I'm sure, on the video, but they have a point that's right here, and a point that's right here, and a point that's right here. Really hard to see, I know. So let me make them bigger for you. Right here, and right here. We can find our slope from any 2 points, and we could use any of these points and put them in the table. I like to use the slope because like this one right here doesn't line up perfectly on a number, and so I can never be too sure if it's actually going through. Like that looks like it could be -1 and 2, but it's off a little bit. And this looks like it could be -1 and 1, but it's off a little bit. So I like to use the points that they give us. This one actually is a little bit darker too. So there's actually 4 points here we could label on this graph. If we didn't know though, I would use my rise and my run from 2 points that we do know. So how about we go here and here? So then you ask yourself, how far did we rise from 0 to 3? Well, that's 3. How far did we run from -2 to 0? That's 2. So that means our slope is 3/2. So you could take any one of these points that they give you. We could go 0 and 3 because that is a y-intercept, and that's a very good point to start with. 0, 3, right here. You could take some of these other points if they give them to you. If not, remember that this is your rise and this is your run. So that means it goes +3, +3, +3 because y's rise. So it would be 3 + 3 is 6. 6 + 3 is 9. 9 + 3 is 12. Then we have to do our run. So it's +2, +2, and +2. So 0 + 2 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. And 4 + 2 is 6. Now the only thing left is to write our equation. So remember, it's y equals mx plus b. It's always y equals mx plus b until we learn a different version. But right now it's just y equals mx plus b. Remember, m is your slope, which we already found, and b is our y-intercept, which we have on our graph and in our table. So our new equation is going to be y equals 3/2 x plus b, which is 3 and 3. So y equals 3/2x plus 3. So this one, they gave us the graph, and we found the other 2 pieces of information. Now they give us an equation, and we have to do the graph and the tables. Either one is easy to do. So let's take our y-intercept. Remember, our y-intercept is always b. So our y-intercept is 6, and this time it's a +6. So it's 0 and 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know my point here is going to be 0, 6. Y-intercept, y-intercept, y-intercept. Then my slope, remember, is rise over run. So that's my rise. That's my run. It's a negative. Make sure you pay attention to your signs, right? So this means that one of these numbers needs to be negative. It does not matter if you go -3 or -4, as long as one of them is negative, and it's that way through the whole table. So if I go -3 for my rise, I'm going to go -3, -3, -3. 6 minus 3 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. And 0 minus 3 is -3. And my run, since we used the negative on the 3, my run is a positive 4. So plus 4, plus 4, plus 4. 0 plus 4 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. And 8 plus 4 is 12. So here are my points. Now, you could take all of these points and plot them if you wanted to. You could go 4, 3, which means x, y. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And that would be a point. Then it's 8 and 0. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8 and 0. So it's right here. And then we can't really plot this one because it's too far off the graph. Or you can go straight from the equation, right? So we know our y-intercept is 6, which we already graphed. And then you could just go down 3 over 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check that out. It's the same point. And then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hello. And if you want to keep going that way, you could go up 3 and back 4, as long as one of them is negative, right? So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Connect your dots, your points, and there's your line for that equation and that table of values. This kind of wraps up everything we've done in the unit, and this is a big part of your test. It's really important to be able to find the slope and the y-intercept from all 3 things because they all relate. So we've got our y-intercept, y-intercept, and y-intercept. And then we've got our slope right here. We used it to graph, and you can use it in your table. So rise over run, 5 over 1, because it's a whole number, 5 over 1. And this one, y-intercept, 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 and then rise over run, right? So it rose 3 and it went and it ran 2. So up 3 over 2, up 3 over 2. Same thing here, up 3 over 2. Then we've got y-intercept, y-intercept, y-intercept. And then we've got our slope, negative 3 over 4, rise over run. So down 3 over 4, down 3 over 4. Check that out, down 3 over 4. They all relate. That's why if you're given one piece of information, you can find the other 2.